You're about to learn some things about how I look at different tracts of land, things about timber, things about land programs, things about improving your land before you get ready to sell it, if you ever do decide to sell it. Let's get right into the information. Hey, here's a good place I can answer a question that I bet I've gotten a dozen times just in referring to property lines or surveys or boundaries and stuff. I sometimes refer to pinning the corners. And what I mean by that is where the surveyor identifies a corner of a property, and properties may have multiple corners. Each corner's got to be pinned. And what I mean by that is that metal piece of rebar right there that they drive in the ground at the corner. And then this T-post right here is not the pin. The T-post is just simply marking the pin, because that is going to get covered up and be hard to find one day. But the T-post can be there, for a long time, can be pretty permanent unless somebody knocks it down like somebody almost did on that one with a tractor. But it just makes those pins, the actual corners, easier to find. Survey tip for the day. Hey, if you got some property and part of it's in pasture, open ground, and it looks like this, it probably needs a bush hog before you put it on the market. Just saying, a little bit of bush hogging go a long way. Man, what a difference a bush hogging makes. This place was this high a couple months ago when I got it listed, and they got it clipped, and it looks worlds better back there, as you can tell. So good looking place now. Hey, I'm on a tracking for a client that we're listing, and he told me this block of woods had a lot of good timber in it and was thinking about having it cut. Well, just this little short video segment is just timber value 099 course. There's not a lot of good timber value on here, and I don't think it'd be worth his while to have it cut. There are a few little small logs, some scattered questionable logs, and then the rest of it just so scrappy looking little pulpwood at best. So this is not a high value block of timber like he was thinking it is, and I'll politely tell him that. But anyway, just because it's got trees doesn't mean it's got timber value. Hey, I'm on a little piece of property, about 140 odd acres, and it's all in WRP, the Wetland Reservation Program. And I wanted to show you something here that's important. If you ever buy a piece of property and considering putting it in one of the United States Department of Agricultural easements like CRP, WRP, CREP, there's a number of them. If you ever do that and it's just going to be a recreational property from that point forward, be sure you do what these people did. Now, you see that old barn building right there, old barn, it's just a little old shed. It run down, it's worth nothing. It's sitting on a little piece of this WRP that is worth something. I'm standing here at a survey point inside the WRP easement, and if you're right down there, you can't see it, but there's another survey point right there. And what this does is this carved out about an acre that the owners did not put in the easement, and they left this little piece out right here. And what that does is that allows whoever buys this in the future to come in here, tear that old little shed down, and they can put a camp here. You can build a permanent structure on this WRP tract because it'll be on this little piece right here. Some people get so short-sighted when they put a property in an easement like this, because they're getting paid by the acre to do it, that they put every single acre inside the easement, and they don't think about the fact that somebody coming along that's going to want to buy it in the near future, they're probably going to want to put a place to build a home, or to put a campsite on, or even to have just a barn that they can put equipment in to be able to manage the easement. Leave an acre or two or three, just leave a few acres out along an access point, just like these people did here, that can be used to build a permanent structure. That'll make all the difference in the world if you ever get ready to sell this property one day, or your family, your heirs do down the road. Hey, let's take a look at a couple clips now that talk about valuing your land. One of them has to do with misunderstanding the actual use of the property, and the use changes everything about value. And the other one has to do with overpricing the property so much that it stays on the market for way too long, and then later you end up selling it for what the true value really was, but you've wasted a lot of time. Let's take a look. Man, that's a tough little old track I looked at back there, because I have an idea what the owner wants for it, and he's wanting kind of home site prices for that little old timberland tract. And it's almost there, but it's got, it's chopped up by some drains. You cannot get on the place, for somebody just to be able to get on it and really look at it good, because it's just so much young understory. It's just so thick. There's no trails or roads into the property. And so it's just going to be real hard for somebody to get their imagination around that place to want to pay him for what he's wanting for it, because it's just not quite home site tract. And it's going to be a hard home site tract, and that buyer is going to be pretty scarce. So, convincing the seller or something like that sometimes is a tough chore, but I'm going to tell them the truth, just see what happens. I had a closing here locally, and it was a kind of property. It happens all the time. It was, had a commercial, residential development kind of price on it. The final sales price was about 60% of the original listing price. It took about 2 years to get, finally, for the folks to get realistic on the number and take a good deal on the property. But again, it was about 60% of what the original asking price was, because they just wanted way too much for the tract. Reality kind of started setting in over time. 2 years later, they get a good price for the property, but way less than the original asking price. But that's the way it goes.